So, you know.
Okay. Okay. So our first task is to approve the minutes of the housing subgroup. So Sue and Steve are here, and David and I are here. So we can,
I'll make a motion to approve them.
okay, thank you, Steve.
Both of
Is there a
them.
second?
Yep, second.
Oh, David seconds. Okay, all in
Yep.
favor? David?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Sue?
You're
You're
muted,
muted.
Sue.
Sorry. Aye.
And the chair votes aye. I don't think anybody else was there. I don't recall. Okay, so the minutes are approved. Okay, our first order of business is to discuss the fiscal year 27 housing applications. Laura, you want to put those up on the screen? So this is the
Yes, where would you like to start with the housing applications?
why don't we start with the BHA applications, the Trussman roofs and the High Street windows. First, let's do the Trussman roofs first.
Okay.
So, if I might jump in, I'll note that Ben has joined, and I don't know whether anything needs to be done so he can have his video and audio on.
Yes, I'm happy to get you to that. Let
Okay.
me promote and make him a co-host. There you go,
Okay,
Ben.
so I'm going to let's just discuss these two projects, and then we'll move on to the third one, which was the grant to the AHT. So the funds that are requested here are under, you can see them, the 1,178,630. Who wants to tell the full committee about this project?
Well, I'll do a little intro, and then
Okay,
I think
great.
Ben, perhaps. Wait, Nancy, I'm sorry. Can you repeat what you just said?
I said, no, that's great. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Okay, great.
You'll do you do an intro, and then Ben will
Ben will
speak to
take
the.
over. Yeah.
This is the roof
Trussman roof
preservation
replacement.
project.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it replaces the roofs across 3 buildings and 86 apartments serving low-income families. And the request is for $1.8 million from CPA, but we're projecting a really excellent leverage of HILAP funds from EOHLC, formerly DHCD, and we've been very
Okay.
successful.
Wait. Can I just insert something, because we have the request as 1,178,630.
Yeah,
Not
I'm sorry, I
1.8.
rounded up, so.
Not 1.8 million, because that's a
Yeah.
vastly different number.
Okay, I'm sorry, that's my error. We'll stick with the
Okay.
1.178.
1,178,630.
630, yes.
Yeah,
I don't know where
okay,
I got that
okay.
number.
Okay, great.
Okay. And Ben, please interrupt me if you hear me make more mistakes. And it's really just 2.5 roofs, as we had replaced half a roof not that long ago. And the last time the ones that haven't been replaced were replaced was 1996, and they're well past their useful life, and they're actively leaking around the skylights, which is obviously very detrimental to the condition of the building inside and the units. So now I'm just
Right.
gonna stop there and let Ben take over from here.
Thank you, Sue. I don't have too much to add because even though this is certainly a very significant amount of funds we're requesting, the story I think is fairly simple. We have, as Sue said, these aging roofs at the Trustman Apartments, and we're asking for support to replace them. This is kind of following on from the CPA's first awards, the most recent awards, the BHA, the 1 million over 2 years for to replace the Egmont roofs. That award is letting us leverage 2.5 million of matching capital awards from the State Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. So because of the CPA's generosity and the state's match, we can replace all the roofs at Egmont, hopefully by the end of this year. And we're looking to continue that with Trustman. This one was fairly pressing as the leaking around the skylights and the condition of the roofs is actually jeopardizing a very large investment by both the town and UHLC from ARPA funds and other HILAP funds to replace all the windows at Trustman and Egmont. And also they're doing a lot of work in the entryways. There's already been incidents where it's leaked on top of the new paint and other repairs to the hallways. So obviously we want to keep a tight building to both provide a better living conditions for our residents and, preserve our investment.
Okay, well, let's talk right now about the Trustman roofs. And then the next thing we'll talk about is the High Street veterans, okay?
Well,
I think that the working group was all in favor of this and moving it forward, understanding that this is definitely a preservation project of outside of the building, the roof, and preventing a significant interior damage from the leaks. So I don't know how much more there is to say about it. It certainly checks off all the boxes in terms of our goals. It's serving low-income families, and it's also, I believe you're also doing some work to make sure that it's sustainable energy. There's energy sustainability built in here. Is that correct?
That's correct. And that's a common theme of both projects. Both the state, both our own principles and the state requirements would add a lot of insulation. So making it incrementally more watertight actually goes well with the window project I was talking about was the one at Trustman, funded by town ARPA money. That's ongoing right now. We're replacing windows. So hopefully combining the two will have some substantial energy savings. Trustman and his High Street vets are among the biggest energy users per apartment in the state portfolio.
Right.
Wow.
David, were you saying something?
I was saying wow for what he just said.
Oh, okay.
I raised my hand.
Or questions?
Nancy, I raised my.
Okay, I don't, when the thing is on, I don't see it. Yeah, okay, go
Okay.
ahead.
So my question, you said this is a
When I have something
preservation.
on the screen, I don't think,
Okay.
yeah,
My question is,
preservation.
you said this is a preservation project, but it's really a housing project. Is that right? It doesn't.
No, it's very confusing because the boxes of what you can do are, I'm talking about that little box that checks off what you can do under each category. For instance, the support box is only checked under housing. So it's not historic preservation, it's preservation of the building and preservation of the structure.
Thank you. I just wanted that clarified.
I agree that I wish they had thought of a different word, but they didn't. So we're stuck with it. Okay. Anybody else? I can't see your hand, so speak up because we've got the screen is covered with the project description. So I can't see if you're wanting to say something, but so if you are, please, I don't know, Laura, can you see people's name?
Yes, I should be able to see if anyone has their hand raised, and I don't see anyone with their hand raised right now.
Okay, so,
Although Minnie seems like she wants to say
Yeah.
something.
okay, Minnie.
Right.
Muted.
We don't hear you, Minnie.
Okay. Just 1 second.
Oh,
Now we do.
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Oh, you can hear me now. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So I just had a question on the matching, the expected kind of matching and the leveraging of the CPA funds. And I'm sorry if it's in the detail and I just missed it, but what happens if expected like matching doesn't happen on this project?
Well, simply put, you would have to reduce the scope. Because the project is, it's our estimate that's $3 million to replace all the roofs at Trussman. This is gonna be the same kind of answer when we get to the windows. And we're assuming conservatively a 1.5 times match. The state will match up to 2.5 times, but well, they did most recently give us a 2.5 times match, but they made us wait a couple months, I think, because of funding availability. But sorry, to answer your question, that's the cost to do the project, which means it's about 1 million to do one roof, maybe a little bit more because you don't get the same efficiencies. So we would have to reduce the scope and do the project phased if the full match didn't come through.
Okay, and it sounds like the project is something that could be broken up and phased and.
Yeah, it'd be less efficient, but
only-
because it's three different, it's 3 buildings, 3 roofs, you could do 1, 2, 3 roofs. It becomes a little less efficient as you make the project smaller because you need architects activated, less attractive to contractors, but it can be split up that way by building.
Okay, and was there something in the application about, possible solar feasibility?
It's something something we could explore. We may look into it at Egmont where we're about to go out to bid. It's something we'll have to explore. Right now this is kind of more in the weeds. We already have net metering contracts for covering all of our usage at the state sites. So we already get some of the benefit. But I think there's things you can do to move the credits around if you want to put physical solar on your roofs. But it's something I want to look into. I don't want to commit to it without talking to, especially my director of modernization, because there's some maintenance concerns.
Right.
But I should just note, just as a sidebar, on our new construction buildings, 32 Marion, and we're seeking funding now for Walnut High redevelopment. We do have solar going onto the roofs there.
So does that mean that you'd have to scope the roof a little, that the roof would actually have to be built differently?
I don't
and,
think so. I believe that HLC's requirements now are solar for the roofs to be solar ready.
Okay.
It's simply a matter of installing sleds on which you mount the solar panels.
Yeah. And if we were to do it, we would probably do it by leasing the space rather than, I don't know, we'd have to figure that. Sorry, this is more in the weeds and it's the next step, but we would consider it. And I think the roofs would be easily converted to solar. That's the standards they have now.
And in terms of like long-term maintenance of the roof, is that just funded from, just general operating budgets? Like how does that work? Beyond the
Yes.
warranties?
Yeah, I mean, yes, the operating budget, would fund routine maintenance, any type of investigations, but generally, they don't need that much maintenance until they start to fall apart again, in which case they have to be replaced. And that would come out, it's hard to say what the funding will be for us in 30, hopefully these roofs last at least 30 years. But we have a baseline amount of capital funding from the state called formula funding. Right now, it's around between $500,000 and $600,000 a year, which is only about $1,300 per unit. So that would fund theoretically, exigent repairs. But that's why this CPA money and the CDBG money we get from the town is so important, because it lets us go beyond that baseline level of formula funding, which is not really sufficient to maintain these old properties.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Well, you all remember that CPA is basically monies are prohibited from doing the maintenance. So one of the ways that they can do that is by applying to CDBG. I think that can be used for maintenance I believe that's correct. So our money goes for the envelope and the windows and the roofs and the things in the the exterior walls and things of that nature. Whereas the money from CDBG can go for maintenance and indoor things that we're not able to fund.
Okay.
Could I ask Ben for further clarification about the match from the state?
Sure.
You're asking for 1.178 million from CPA, and you said you're using a 1.5, 150% match as being conservative. So the 1.178 from CPA with a 1.5, 150% match, that does add up to the total project cost of 2.94 million. If you got a 2.5%, a 250% match, which is possible, would that mean you could reduce what you need to draw from CPA?
Yeah, there's a bit of a chicken and egg. Probably not. They tend to have their dollars be the last dollars. It would make the project more robust. We could either have the opportunity to, if that were to happen, we'd have either the ability to add scope to the project. Of course, it would have to be CPA. Well, we could probably make the additional scope, from the state funds. Or it also makes it more robust to funding, to estimating wrong, that we could undershot the total cost. Obviously, this project, even if we're lucky enough to be awarded, would not be awarded funds until this spring and town meeting, and then has to be designed. We have to seek funding from the state, so it wouldn't be out to bid till 2027 probably, or at least to be in construction spring 2027, because it can't really happen during the winter. So there's escalation there.
But you did get a higher match than you anticipated.
Most recently, when I was writing it, when we were writing these applications, HLC had not, having kind of slow walking, giving us any award for both the latest CPA grant of 500,000 and our latest CDBG awards from the prior year, the fiscal year 26 awards, because of, I think, funding availability, but they ultimately came through with that match. Brookline has been lucky enough, Brookline Housing Authority, because of the support from the town, has been lucky enough to probably pull down more HILAP money than any other housing authority, at least of comparable size. So we want to continue that, but we just have to watch what the state does.
But just to be clear, with a 1.5, 150% match from the state, you could complete this project. You don't need more than that from the state.
If it was a 1.5 matches, yes.
All right, thanks.
So I
Um,
did have one more question. I'm sorry. I just noticed in the numbers, in the estimates, there was a note about the numbers being based on a 2023 quote with the 15% escalation added. And I was wondering whether that 15% is just based on what you've kind of seen based on, projects that have happened recently. Like, I guess my only question or concern would be, is that 15% realistic? Is it 20%? Is it, have construction costs gone up? So, so just curious as to your
I think
sense of.
overall it's realistic. Roofs are less tariff exposed than other construction things we'd be doing, like say windows. It's hard to say. As I said, we're with the previously awarded CPA funds, we're going out to bid shortly for the Egmont roofs, and that will give us a much better sense of what the costs are in the current.
I'm going to remind the committee that with the Egmont roofs, the original cost was going to be, I think, $1.5 million and a half.
Yeah.
$1.5 million. And that was for, we figured, there would be a match there. But then the state came in and what we had done, because we didn't have the money the first year, we stretched it out over the 3 years. We had a grant of 500,000 the first year and a second year of 500,000. And then the state came in with enough money that we didn't need the third year of, which is what we had planned. So we didn't get into that problem of needing to add more money to the, because the adding to the project, because the state came in with the full amount of the match, the full maximum amount that they could do. So we'll hope that that's the case this time. And, it may be that we'll be, the BHA will be asking us to allow them to do a different kind of project or something with the extra money. We don't know that yet. We can just go on the information we have now. So hopefully, they will award us the the maximum, but I don't think that the BHA is not counting on that. They're basically going for 150%. So I think that's correct, right, Ben?
Yeah, that is roughly
Okay.
correct. Also, I just want to note
Yeah.
that he was under my name because I think he used my link, but Chris Duvall, our Director of Maintenance and Modernization, is here. Would you mind? I don't know if he has anything to add, but do you mind unmuting him just in case you have any technical questions about this or the High Street Vets project?
Sure, I just
Thank
did
you.
that.
Hi, I'm here.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay. Do you have anything to add, Chris?
I don't. I just got on, but I think everything Ben said is accurate. So
Of course it is. Thank you, Chris.
Okay, Laura, could you put down the screen so that we can see each other? Great, thank you. All right, so does the committee agree that we should move this project forward? We're obviously not agreeing to the funding yet. We haven't gotten to that stage of our process, which is that once we've reviewed all of the projects, then this year we're going in the unhappy situation of having to pare down some things because we don't have enough money. Our revenues were just over 4 million and we have 6.2 million in requests. So, but as of now, let's put this into the pot and move it on. Does everyone agree with that?
Yep.
Yes.
It's actually, the revenue is 3.8 million. It's down this year.
Okay. So why don't we move on to the windows, High Street Veterans Project windows.
Well, I might as well just let Ben talk, so I don't take up time making errors. So, Ben, why don't you just jump in, talk about the windows?
Sure. So again, I mean, similarly to the other project, it's a very large amount of money, which we're aware of, but there's also not too much to say. These windows are quite old and past their useful life. Yeah, it's been a big pain point. Pain point at this property. They're over 40 years old. The property itself was built in 1949, 1950, with 177 apartments plus 9 that were built more recently in the 90s as infill accessible units. As I said earlier, High Street Vets is one of the most energy inefficient properties we have. And the windows are a big part of that. They're well past their useful life. They're drafty. They're difficult to open. I think Chris could, I think, describe this better, but our maintenance guy literally has to carry torches around to heat them enough to get the screws out if he ever has to replace them. Like they're in tough shape. So as the application says, replacing all the windows we estimate would cost about $3.5 million. Or sorry, 3.9, I believe is what we have. Thank you. And we're using the same math, a conservative 1.5 times match. It's hard to say. I believe this budget is based off of the windows replacement at Egmont and Trussman. But with tariffs and materials that are part of the walls of these sites, this one's probably got more prospect for escalation than the roofs. So it's a really important project for us to both, as I said, to improve living conditions and reduce energy use at this property.
Okay, so 1.5 million, or just over that, is what we're being asked to fund. I have a question about the energy saving measures that you may or may not have taken so far. For instance, do you put that noxious plastic on the inside of the windows to keep the tenants a little warmer? You know what I'm saying? What are those things called? Does anybody else do that? in their
Like
houses?
Like the,
Exterior storms or something?
the 3M plastic that you can put
Well,
on?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we do it more on a request basis to go through every single unit. We just don't have the capacity to maintenance capacity to do every single unit. We'd still be probably trying to do it. But there is several units that we do it. Residents ask.
Uh-huh. Okay, any other questions?
Are you, you haven't gotten to the point of specifying, I'm assuming, but are you likely to be specifying UPVC windows, most of which are made in Europe and are subject to both tariffs and shipping issues? I don't know which project was. I just saw something about another project where the windows were being delayed because of political stuff going on, and they were coming from Europe. I mean, I know in my firm, we were getting windows from Ukraine back in the day.
Yeah, I think we'd probably try to shoot for fiberglass and definitely source it in the United States. That's our goal.
Other questions, concerns, comments?
So
All right,
just a comment question. So it seems like there's a lot of capital, there's a lot of deferred kind of projects. And obviously this is an important one. And will this window project, once implemented, kind of, how does that intersect with the other projects? Like, for example, is anything on any work that you do on masonry then going to affect this project? Yeah,
Uh,
just standard.
I'll take a first crack at that, and Chris may add. I mean, both of these properties, Trustman and High Street Vets, have a lot of capital needs overall. But my understanding, I don't want to speak for the CPAC, is that CPA can only fund true like preservation, basically roofs and windows or something to stop like an emergency situation that would like destroy the building. So I believe windows and roofs are covered by that, but a lot of other work isn't. The masonry is in pretty good shape. The building systems are old, and there's some more core issues with, the units are old. We do try to fix up the units on turnover with new kitchens and baths as far as the budget allows for, but that's a challenge. They're very energy efficient. As I said, we can do so much. Windows and roofs can help, but there's no room to insulate these brick boxes on the inside further, and exterior cladding is extremely expensive. So there's just a lot of different issues. And yeah, but it doesn't really. But doing the windows doesn't really interact in an inefficient way with the masonry, I don't think. But Chris, please, you're more expert if you have anything to add.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't. It wouldn't interfere.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any more? Anybody else? I don't see any hands raised in the top of the screen where you get cut off. I don't see anybody waving their hand. Okay, so let me just sum up. It seems like this again checks all the boxes. It's for low-income families. It's for community housing. It's for energy reasons. So
It gets a match.
yeah,
Gets a match.
it gets a match, a nice match. So again, I'm assuming that unless there's any objections, we will again move this forward in the queue. Does everyone agree with that?
Yep.
I don't think we need a formal vote, but okay. So let's move on to the request by the BHA. So I understand that there have been some
Do you mean
changes here.
BHA or
Or the
I mean,
did you mean the HAB?
I'm sorry, too
by the
many
HAB.
initials, yeah. The AHT, Affordable Housing Trust, HAB. And my understanding, and Roger, please correct me, or Steve, if I'm wrong, that the HAB is withdrawing its request and proposing that the CPA allocate $400,000 to the HAB for the specific purpose of adding money to the BCDC Boylston Street project. That project has run into a considerable problem with rotten wood and structural elements that need to be replaced, and from termite and carpenter ant reasons. So the HAB is proposing to put $400,000 into that. They would cover the other $400,000 while the project is supposed to be done by the end of March or early April, as I understand it. And then the CPA would, in essence, reimburse the HAB for that, for a portion of that. So I understand there's a presentation. Steve, were you the one who's going to make that presentation?
Well, thank you, Nancy. I don't have a formal presentation, but I mean, there are two. First of all, it's true that the HAB's request for what was initially $1 million of non-specific funds to the Affordable Housing Trust, trying to bank funds for future needs that would be available in a flexible fashion. When we first presented that, we were asked to provide more information about the way the HAB and the Affordable Housing Trust work, what we've done in the past, how we leverage the funds. And that was submitted with great help from Awana and Emily DeHoog at the housing staff and put together by Roger. We submitted that additional information, which is part of the package in today's meeting materials. And just to briefly refer back to that, I mean, we have funded, helped create over 400 units of affordable housing with our funds, most of which have been matched to the extent where the Affordable Housing Trust contributions represent about 10% of the total cost of a project. And by being in there early, often are a reason that projects get funding from other sources. Most of these projects require funding from 10 different sources. And having the town's funding in there, as Ben mentioned, by the town of Brookline's helping to fund its public housing projects. Similarly, when there are nonprofit, private nonprofits like 2Life and Hebrew Senior Life doing similar things, they are able to garner all kinds of additional state funding, tax credit funding, et cetera, to advance these projects, like most recently 108 Center Street. So we've provided, and this is, you can see it up on the screen, some information on what we've done over the past few years. And we know, for example, that projects like the next phase of Walnut High will be coming along. In the first phase was one of those examples where HAB and the AHT and CPA each put $3.75 million, total of $7.5 million into that project, which is a $75 million project. And we can expect a second phase of the project to be somewhat similar when that comes along in the next couple of years. So there's a real need to have these funds. And then the link between our request and the emergency request that BCDC made to help complete their Boylston Street project, where they have run into a number of unanticipated problems, including termite structural damage to their rear stairwell and a whole list of other things that have popped up, where they were expected to be complete with construction in March. And at the previous housing subgroup task force, I think it was me that said, look, you're supposed to be done in March. You're asking the CPA for money. At best, this would have to go to town meeting in May as part of a warrant. And then there's all kinds of the CPA. I think David Lesgoye mentioned, then we have to get a grant agreement in place. Why aren't you asking the Housing Trust Fund for this money? Because we could get it to you quickly. I mean, we can vote on it at our next meeting. The select board has to approve it, et cetera. So I actually had to leave that meeting. So I don't know what further discussion ensued, but I do know that BCDC said, that's a good idea. So they have since come to, or they haven't actually, Roger, you can correct me if I'm wrong, haven't actually formally come to the HAB yet. They made a kind of preliminary presentation at our previous meeting, but they weren't fully, prepared to, commit to specific dollars, et cetera. So we said, come back to the next meeting, and we could grant them that money. But the way this has kind of evolved, the thought that the Housing Advisory Board has is that our own request for non-specific funds, we would like to have some funds from CPA that would help offset that. There's been a discussion, I know, between Roger Blood and David Lescoyer about whether CPA funds can be used to reimburse expenditures on another project, whether or not these are actually town expenditures or whether Affordable Housing Trust expenditures are not exactly town money. It doesn't really matter whether we're reimbursing the project or not. What we're saying is that we can put, and we haven't gotten to what CPA is asking for or what they're doing. And I know that Dave Cavell is here, not CPA, excuse me, BCDC is here to maybe further clarify this, but looks like they're going to ask the Housing Advisory Board for something like $800,000 to complete their Boylston Street project and be able to do it while they're trying to finish their construction by March or April. And this can work out really well, but it also demonstrates that the HAB is a good place for people to go when something like this comes up in an emergency. But we'd like to not deplete our funds to such a large extent. I think we have about, well, I don't know where we stand at the moment, but that's sort of what I can say right now. I don't know if there's a more formal presentation of this or if Roger would like to add something.
I would like to add something, if I could, at this point. I was really pleased to see the supplemental application from the Housing Advisory Board. It was really quite impressive, and it was what I was looking for to strengthen that application. And actually, I think you're being modest in describing the accomplishments of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So we have a list of 9 projects from 2008 to 2026, and it's a total of 571 units, of which 543 are affordable. The total project cost for those 9 was $305 million. HAB contributed $20 million to that over that period. And as I calculate, that's a 15-to-1 multiplier. So I think that this is something that is certainly encouraging. And here, it isn't so much we're reimbursing, because we can't really. We have the Community Preservation Act can supplement, but it cannot replace. So by voting this money now and getting it in the hands of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, then they can move forward. And as we have this whole business with the Walnut High and Town Council, he said, and legally the funds are fungible. So once we get the funds into the hands of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, then they can move forward and do this. Now, I haven't really seen any details on what the BCDC had in mind for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund part of that. And we're talking 400,000. We need to look at the line items, and because if we're currently, what we've seen from them is 350, and we're looking to increase that to 400. We have to be sure those additional items are also eligible under the CPA preservation verb. We have acquire, create, preserve, and restore, and this is coming under the preservation verb. So thank you very much. I think what HAB has done here is really move the process forward. Thank you.
So in a nutshell, what we're saying is that HAB would reduce its ask from $1 million to about 400,000.
Yeah, right. And CPA would appropriate 400,000. Then you would have the money to go ahead with.
But David, we have to be clear. We have to be clear that the money, we can't just give them money now. It has to come
Yeah, not till they would have to go
After
through
a
the warrant
town-
article and.
Yeah,
and-
yeah,
Yeah,
have to
warrant
go to-
article and all that
Fine.
stuff. Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
but TAB can go forward because they
and-
have enough cash on
Right.
hand to handle
They have
that
enough
until
cash,
this
yeah.
CPA money comes and it's been appropriated. And actually the replace or supplement applies to all grants, nonprofit or anybody. It's not just a question with the town. So we need to observe that.
So thank you, David, for clarifying that and for your support of our, the additional information that we provided about what the HAB has been doing. So,
Dave, did you want to tell us?
David C.
Dave, go-
Well,
oh,
I
Dave
see.
Cavell.
There's too many Davids. It's such a good name.
Yeah.
The
I think
well, I
King
see Roger
David would
has
approve.
I see Roger has his hand up as well. So I'm happy to cede to Roger because I think
Okay,
I want to make
he's
sure
at
you
the top of my screen and I don't, those get cut off. It's
No, I
really
know.
an annoying problem.
Yes, I'm happy to weigh
Okay,
in when
go ahead,
appropriate or
Roger.
not, but happy to turn things over to Roger.
Okay,
I just wanted to thank David for clarifying for me earlier today. I had been thinking that the HAB and the AHT would be able to go ahead and commit everything after a thorough vetting of the project and the request, the whole amount, and then because of the timing, to have a CPA put in its bundled article to town meeting the 50% match that then could backfill half of the of what I think Dave will be able to clarify now, but it's roughly $800,000. What David Lescoyer clarified for me was that as far as substitution or replacement funding by CPA, I thought that was only prohibited in terms of replacing municipal funds, through the budget or the CIP. But David has clarified that that would also apply to the trust funds, and that therefore you wouldn't be able to do it the kind of that way that I was envisioning, but that an equivalent end result could be achieved if we simply reduce the non-project specific open-ended ask that we've got with you now at the $1 million level down to the 400,000 and not tie it specifically because of this prohibition to the BCDC project, but remain at the lower balance, much lower balance as in a non-project specific category, and that would avoid any regulatory concerns that David had pointed out. And I think David indicated that he thought that could work. Now that would subject the 400,000 to all CPA requirements going forward, wherever it might be used eventually, but avoid any entanglements with regulations on this project. So
just
Yeah,
to be clear, we
all-
would maintain two separate accounts,
Right.
one for
Yes.
our normal
Right.
affordable housing trust and a separate account that is for CPA eligible projects.
Right.
absolutely, yeah, that's a given, right? Of course.
We need to for BCDC to revise its budget up to 400,000 or whatever we end up with, and see a corresponding budget from the Housing Advisory Board. All of this would be adjudicated through a grant agreement. We don't have to spend our time tonight on all these details. We'll have to have our staff work that out, and with the town council as before.
But BCDC is not asking the CPA for money at this point anymore. Is that correct?
Yes, well, we have an application from them, yes.
Yes, but well,
For
I assume they're going to
350.
withdraw it, but the money that we are seeking now from CPA, we would specify be for CPA eligible projects. But whether or
That's
not
right.
everything that BCDC needs to do at Boylston Street is CPA eligible, hopefully.
That needs to be clear.
well, yeah, that has to be clear. We can, they may want to do things that are not CPA eligible, so
It's-
there,
it's-
so that so they would have to use other monies.
They
Right.
could in this, I believe they could in this sense, because they would be applying for the whole 800,000 from the trust,
Yeah,
which, and we don't have any CPA dollars now. And if we granted, after full vetting, the whole amount for their project, the question of what was CPA eligible or not would be irrelevant. The only thing
No,
that would be,
it's still very relevant, and this goes back to something we've discussed before. You really need to set up a separate account so that you can go match invoices from BCDC with what CPA is appropriated. I mean, all of that comes back and needs to be verified. As in the end, we need to submit a report to the Department of Revenue about our activities.
we probably need to clarify this, maybe. I don't know if this is the moment to do it, but at least to confirm that we're talking about essentially the same structure, that the housing trust would be approving the entire funding for the BCDC's project.
That's right.
And we don't have, from our balance, we would be approving it, committing it, and then funding it before your May town meeting article,
Right.
getting your fund is approved. So none of the BCD money for this project would be subject to or reportable as specifically using CPA dollars.
Well, there would have to be, and we would spell out in the grant agreement, just like we do with any other project that we fund.
So I don't think I'm not at least from what I'm hearing, the structure, the way that the proposal is proposed to work, does not or will not allow us as the CPA committee to actually have that direct kind of say or linkage, in the sense that if we are granting to the trust, then, first of all, I mean, my question, which is why I raised my hand a little earlier, was just my understanding as to whether CPA funds could even be used for something like this.
Well, let me clarify that. There are documents on the coalition website, Coalition of Community Preservation Act website, that address exactly this. And it happens that our consultant that helped us with the plan wrote those documents. And and Laura has worked with Jennifer Goldson on that. So I think we have a well-tread path. We have many examples from around the state. And I don't think there's a need to get into all of this because it's all been done before and we have the capacity, but we would need a tracking. And so what it specifically says in the coalition website is that the Affordable Housing Trust Fund needs to set up a separate account and be able to walk back those expenditures to the CPA committee to be sure they meet the requirements of CPA. So
I think I saw Clara kind of waving her hand. Did you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, and I'm unmuted. Yes, I raised my hand because I'm getting very confused, because I thought because the Affordable Housing Trust has said they're going to fund the additional needed funds for the BCDC. Is that, let me just say what I understand. You can tell me I'm all wrong. So they're going to fund that, and that therefore BCDC isn't asking for the 400,000 anymore from us, but the Affordable Housing Trust is asking the CPA, Community Preservation Committee, to fund the Affordable Housing Trust for 400,000, and that money can only be used for CPA qualifying projects. But that we sort of
uses.
Okay, CP uses. And so going forward, the 400,000 they've given to BCDC will be gone. But now that we're sort of we're putting money in the pot that's getting used up. So when another emergency comes around and the emergency needs money and they can't wait for a whole process, that again, the Affordable Housing Trust will have the money to use an emergency. And I see
Exactly.
people
Thank you,
shaking
Clara.
their head. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Clara. You got it.
Thank you.
Right, which means that this BCDC project does, that's going to be done in the next few months, doesn't have to be parsed as to which tasks are CPA preservation compliant and which ones aren't. That responsibility will fall on a future funding that's done unrelated to this BCDC project.
Understood. That's for your next funding emergency.
Right.
That you have the money that you spent that was
Well,
given.
wait, I have a question. As we all know, these things are estimates. And we've had some projects that have estimated high and had money left over, and that comes back to us. And other projects didn't estimate enough, like this one. And the money doesn't go far enough. But the question I have is, in this particular instance, if, and this is a completely hypothetical question, but if, say, the work only comes to $600,000, what happens?
Well, you know, I don't
That's why we need a grant
Oh,
agreement.
okay,
Well, I think-
just for the background here, this year we are in a bind, because we have to cut some stuff, period, end. And so, what are we gonna cut? And the less we have to cut, the better it would be, because all of the projects we have on the table so far are good projects. I'm just hypothesizing what happens,
I mean,
That's why we need a grant
Wait,
agreement.
David, can I just finish, please?
Yeah.
So if, say, the thing comes in at 600,000, we could amend our warrant article when we'll know that, because you're going to be finished with the project by the end of March. We could amend our amount to go down to 300,000. Is that what everybody's understanding is? Because I don't want to go forward unless we have a thorough understanding of the differences and the possibilities here.
Yeah, we need budgets on both sides, and say if after it's all said and done, it is under budget, then if we have a clear grant agreement about which source of money is responsible for which expenses, we can determine how much is CPA money, and it comes back and gets credited to the funds from which it originated.
I was going to say that we think that, and Dave Cavell can clarify this a little bit, but we think the number that they're pointing towards is around $800,000. I don't know what the full HAB would say, but I would think that we don't, for our purposes, for this reduced ask by the Affordable Housing Trust, we can just put the number at 400,000, and whether that's 51% or 48%, that number doesn't need to be changed. But again, once this project is formally submitted to the Affordable Housing Trust with vetted numbers, we can deal with that going forward. We don't need to worry. I mean, the grant agreement between CPA and the Affordable Housing Trust is pretty straightforward. I mean, as Clara explained, it doesn't have to do anymore with the specific Boylston Street project.
I understand that, Steve. That's what I'm concerned about here is the fact that this year we have $6.2 million in ask. Now the HAB says, okay, we'll withdraw our $1 million and we'll only have 400,000. So that's a reduction of 600,000. That's great. But where's the other money coming
Well, and
from?
BCDC came in and asked for an additional $380,000 for a project.
That's not part.
But that's what they were.
That's not part of our what we
Yeah,
were
but
asked for in the beginning.
we've taken that $380,000 off of CPA's hands. So between a reduction of $600,000 in our ask and avoiding another 380,000. That's nearly $1 million that can come out of the current asks for CPA money, which is a pretty substantial chunk, I would say.
Well, first of all, no, I think your math and mine are different. You know, I think that the $6.2 million in requests, 1 million of that was for the HAB. So if we take that away, that means there's 5.2. Well, we still only have barely $4 million. So that still leaves a problem of 1.2 million. Now, the BCDC came in to ask for money, emergency money, but we knew that we couldn't do that this year. And we were talking about flipping it over to next year and going for a November warrant article on that. It was one idea. But the problem with that was that the BCDC needs the money in order to complete and the project, you know, they want to be done by the end of March. So apparently, so other heads have come up with this idea of having the HAB fund the whole thing, and then taking in a warrant article for this spring, reducing their requests from 1 million to 400,000.
400.
400, yeah. So that's great, but that means that our requests now are reduced from 6.2 to 5.6, no, 5.8. Okay? 5.5, I'm sorry, 5.6, because 600,000 is a reduced request. So it's still, you know, we're still in that situation where we're going to be short, and other projects are going to have to make up the difference. That's all I'm saying.
And not just
And
housing
so-
projects.
Yeah,
Well, it completely depends upon what the committee decides to do. But I agree, it could be anything. We could cut out, you know, any one of the projects. But we won't get to that tonight, but that's the point. The point is not, yeah,
Nancy, can I
Yeah,
say
Clara,
something?
yeah.
Because
sure.
we're looking at all the projects and we say, that's a good project, but we have to, and so now we're gonna look, after we say everything's a good project, or pull things out if we think they're not a good project, and we
Not
will.
if we think they're not a good project. No, we have to figure out how we're going to balance the books, you know.
No,
Um,
but I'm saying, shouldn't we say, I think what the Affordable Housing Trust has said, tried to demonstrate how they use the money and why it's a good thing for CPA to give them money. And they've used the BCDC projects as an example. We need to have this cash, so when people come to us, we can lend them give them the money, and then they will use up 400,000. They'd like to reimburse their bank, and so isn't what we should be doing now is saying, is this a good project or not a good project? And not, because we haven't said on the other ones, yes, it's a good project, but let's figure out where we'll cut money. Shouldn't we decide whether this is a good project or not? See how people vote on
yes,
that.
that's a
and
very
then-
good point. It is a
Yeah.
good point. I agree.
and then what I would say to that is, we already decided this is a good project. We funded it in good faith last year, and now we're finding that we have, it's sort of like you already made a commitment, made a decision. It's a good project. It should go forward. Problem is, it needs more money because of unanticipated problems. So,
David, I'm not talking about the BCDC project. I'm talking about funding the Affordable Housing Trust for
Yeah,
whatever
well,
future projects come ahead. I'm not talking about the BCDC.
okay, fine. I think we need to discuss that. That isn't part of what we're doing tonight. When we've got our grants proposal warrant article done, and then we can get that on the agenda.
Yeah,
That's my suggestion.
And I think that the bigger question is, I mean, or the wider question that Clara was referencing, it's a it's a fundamentally bigger question beyond just a project that's in front of us right now. So definitely, yeah, merits more discussion.
I guess the question that we're asking is agreeing to a reduced grant of $400,000 to the Affordable Housing Trust, a reduction of our original request. Is that a good project to be moved along with the other good projects to a point where we have to look at all of our asks and all of our resources and how we can best meet the needs of the projects that we've been requested to fund across the board?
Yeah.
Right. I think Clara has a good point, and Minnie as well. I've just found out about this morning, so I haven't had a huge amount of time to think about it. And I'm in California, so my morning has been, I'm in the early afternoon and you're in the evening. So, but at any rate, I think we have to figure out how we can do this. I'm not sure, we want to do it this year. Maybe we want to have the 400,000 come out of next year's pot. We don't know. I
won't
think
work.
that,
But I guess, Nancy, shouldn't we just vote? I mean, I don't know whether I'm going to convince you or you're going to convince me, but should we take a vote on whether to move this forward? And then when we start doling out the money, we can say, well, we can only afford 350,000 to go to the housing trust and affordable housing trust, and we can only afford X dollars to go to a park and recreation plan or a park and recreation project. But shouldn't the vote really be right now whether to move it forward?
yeah, but I'm asking a different question, Clara, is whether or not, in order to avoid cutting some of the other things that we know we want to do, whether we can, since we would be funding this, but we could bump it over to the next fiscal year.
So-
And Roger is saying no. Let me hear why he says no.
The whole concept here, as it's being described, is that the HAB will be anticipating a request from BCDC to fund its entire project. And when the HAB vets this and discusses it, the anticipated outcome, assuming everything else passes muster, will be yes on a matched funding basis. Not a matched funding a year from now, but to address the timing issue here and try and make everybody happy and able to participate with our much reduced ask from the HAB, the $600,000 reduction. The anticipation would be that there is a connection here between BCD getting all it needs to do this project and the partnering of the trust with the CPA solving the time lag issue to make this whole thing work.
Yeah, it's also a key to this whole thing is that it's coming in this cycle. Otherwise, if it's coming back on the next year, it's replaced. And we need to if we do it now, it's supplemented, and it's a match. On our books, it's a match. Affordable Housing Trust Fund is matching a CPA grant award.
And if I might, Nancy, I think you're conflating two things because the whole point of deciding whether a project should move forward is that we're not going to be discussing the total amount that we have to allocate
Right.
to all the different projects. So by saying, well, let's not move this forward, let's say that, tell them to come back next year, you're making that decision right now, which we all agreed just a minute ago is not the purpose
Yeah.
of this meeting.
I'm only raising issues that I think of and ways in which we can take off the pressure of the requests this
So-
year and fund as much as we can. Yeah, Minnie?
Nancy, I was just going to say, I think I agree with the others in the sense that, that decision can be made at the point that we are making a decision, in terms of, whether this whether to give the money here, there, how much here, how much there. To me, I mean, I still think that the fundamental issue is just the funding mechanism, which is a directly funding a project versus funding the EHT, and then, and just the setting up of the precedent, which is all probably fine. I'm just saying that, we need to just talk about it and just kind of come to a conclusion as a committee one way or the other. And then, and then whether it's 400,000 or 800,000 or more, then, the numbers itself is less kind of important at that stage.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only other, just real quick housekeeping thing, I'm not sure how much the CPA committee members are familiar with this. You all know about the Community Preservation Coalition, and I think you've been using their standard grant agreement for project-specific purposes. They offer a template for that, which I think that's what you all have been using all along, which makes a lot of sense. The CPC has a separate standardized grant agreement. I'm going to guess that Laura is probably familiar with this, and maybe others, but expressly for non-project specific funding of their affordable housing trust partners at the local level. And the way we're talking about this now, because as David said, this can't be used as replacement money to backfill for BCDC. The grant form may be something that you all are not entirely familiar with yet, which would work for this, which is an AHT general grant to be accounted for future uses compliant with CPA regs.
Yes, I mean, it's in the legislation. The coalition has been through this. There are a lot of recommendations and warnings, and we need to get to that. I mean, this is just telling us what Mini's saying. It's at our doorstep. So I think we all agreed that we need to do that. And so let's get it done, but we can't do it until we finish with this cycle. We don't have the time on our meetings.
I think what
Okay,
Rob
well,
is referring to
I
is a
mean-
specific grant agreement that would relate to this current $400,000 ask, because it would be for non-specific
Right.
purposes. Not a
I think we can.
long-term arrangement we would like to talk about when there's time.
Yeah.
Is this
Okay.
something that town council needs to get involved in or can preview for us and say?
He's been involved up to his eyeballs in it. So.
Okay, because I mean, thank you, David, for that information, because
he comes from prior experience with CPA in other communities, so it's not like he's coming into it cold.
Okay,
All right,
so
but I think yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, so maybe we can get like an opinion, because that will help on the committee.
Well, not maybe, we have to get an opinion.
I was saying that gently.
I know, but we've already been through it.
So then what we need to do in moving this forward, and I agree, I'm not opposed to moving it forward. I'm just raising issues that I can see coming up in the future. Is that we need to put this in the pot for discussion with when we have the full picture of everything we're doing. And we also need to get make sure we have town council's opinion. Laura, have you spoken to him about this yet?
No.
Laura only found out now today, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and I believe I would
all right.
need special permission to talk to town council
Why?
because it costs money to talk to town council. So usually there's a process for getting permission to talk to town council.
Is that true
I never
here,
heard that
or
before.
because you have outside council where you've been in Canton, where they have to pay someone outside?
Oh, maybe that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess
Never
I haven't
heard of
been I haven't been advised either way. So, this is all news to me if I can just call up town
I
council.
don't think we have to
Yeah, but
pay town
you have
council.
You have an in-house town council I can just call up?
We have
Four of
like
them.
four,
Four of them.
four town councils. The chief
That
one,
doesn't
the
mean you get
deputy
an answer
one.
back from them anytime soon, but you can
You have
certainly
to, you have
put
to
a question
decide
to.
which one you're gonna deal with.
All right, well, I'll put a pin in that and circle back. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so it seems we're all agreed that we should move this forward the way we're moving other ones forward. And
Dave has his hand raised, and I'm wondering if he has a
oh,
final.
does he? I don't
figure,
see his hand.
This
He's
is
on the
Dave
top now.
Bell.
Okay, Dave, sorry.
Well, no, it's fine. I mean, I don't need to I don't want to interrupt things. I've already presented the BCDC presentation to many of you and taken up a lot of your time with this over the past couple of weeks. Mostly, I was just chiming in to say thank you to all of you. I mean, I took up a lot of Roger's weekend on the phone, talking to him and looking at things. I was talking with Nancy last week. I was talking, with a number of you. And so I just mostly on behalf of BCDC, I'm just saying thank you. I'm glad that this conversation is happening. Happy to answer questions if people have them. A full request that's been revised based on the conversation last week is coming to the HAB. Deborah and I spent a number of hours today on the phone with our project managers. And so you'll have those final numbers very soon. Roger, it is going to be very close to that 800,000 figure that we've discussed. And Steve, the request, I assure you will answer the questions about the purposes of the expenses and the rationale for requesting the funds now. So I can do more on that. I cannot do more on that. I think it sounds like there's been a good conversation here. So I mostly just wanted to say thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I think we are going to go ahead and put this into the hopper and move it forward. And I think everyone has agreed to that. Is that correct? If you are not agreed with that, please raise your hand physically so I can see it. Okay. Okay, so let's move on to our next agenda item, which is talking about fiscal year 27 funding availability. We have a slide, Laurel. I'm gonna, Laura, if I can get this correct. You have a slide on this? This is an FYI and for you to think about how we're gonna, what kinds of steps we can take at the next meetings.
All right, I'm opening it up. Here we go.
Great. Okay.
Can you make it a little bigger?
Right.
Yeah,
Okay, so
I can make it bigger.
You should go to the top, Laurel.
Yeah, I'm trying
Go
to
to the
find
what?
it. I gotta make it a little smaller on my screen so then I can make it bigger. I can zoom in. It's wanting to get my little menu is covering it up. Get it, come on. All right, you know what? I'm gonna move it here. Too many windows
Okay,
open.
so
Yeah, 1 second. I'm just gonna play with my windows for a quick second. There we go. All right, make it bigger. There we go. All right, now we're in business.
Ah. Okay.
Okay.
okay. So here we are. These, this top little chart is the CPA revenue by its source. We have a surcharge, we have interest, and we have the CPA State Trust Fund monies. Now, let me explain to everybody, the money that we're spending now is fiscal year 25 money, even though we are in fiscal year 26. And the reason is that when we started, we had a few years of collecting money that we weren't in a position to spend because we hadn't gotten the committee wasn't organized. We hadn't done our draft, our CPA plan, et cetera. So we were in the fortunate position, and I've talked a lot to Stuart Saganor about this, that he says the CPA committees that do this, they don't spend their future money, which is the estimate here, the fiscal year 26 estimate of 3.7, but spend the money that they've just finished receiving, which is the 4,072,345. Those committees are on a surer footing in terms of their grant agreements and their ability to actually grant the monies, because if you fall short of the 3 points of the money that when you don't have it, then you've got to scramble and figure out how you're going to fix it. So we're better off by spending the money that we've just finished collecting in June. And that was $4,072,345. So that's what we have to spend. And then if you go down a bit, Laura, these are all the different projects. The project total is not what, on the far right, is not what we're being asked to fund. The project, it's in column F. If you look at column F, you can go back up to the top a second. Yeah, so you'll see we have the United Parish, or Temple Sinai, the Old Burying Ground, Muddy River. Now the Muddy River is divided into two pots, but we've had a lot of discussion about this, and I believe that the consensus is that we should be funding it as open space, the bridges. And there's a lot of movement in this particular one because the bridges and transportation are not eligible for funding by CPA. And Stuart Saganor has pointed that out to us and says that, he believes that and others can correct me on this, Laura and David, he believes that the pedestrian bridges, which are within Brookline, there are a few of them. I think there's a total of 5. One is totally in Boston. 2 are shared bridges, and 2 are in Brookline. So he believes that the pedestrian bridges could be open space, part of a trail in a park, in other words. And so that's why it's open space. And I can understand, having been gone there and seen the site and understanding that it's a complex deal, I can understand why the staff would prefer to do them all, but the money that would have to come to the bridges that are transportation focused would have to come from DPW or another source, because CPA cannot fund those. So we don't know how that's all going to work out. There's still some ongoing meetings about that. And we're going to have another working group meeting next in a few days to figure out stuff. So anyway, there's some movement there, which means it probably means that the $200,000 ask is going to be somewhat less. That's a good thing. Then there's the invasive species, D. Blakely Hoare, the tree assessment, the Lars Anderson green, green infrastructure assessment. Where do we come down on that as to whether it's open space or historic?
It should be
Open
considered
space.
open space, yeah.
Open
But
space, okay.
like you said, there's some more meetings on the 23rd that
Yeah.
we're doing.
Okay. And then we've just talked about the housing ones. So then go down a little bit more, Laura, so that people can see. So you see in column F in bold there, there's the asks 6,299,978. So it's 6.3 really. And but compare that to the 4.072 is available. There's a difference, and we're $2.5 million off. So we need to figure out how we're going to deal with that.
Yeah, I
And,
just want to point out that it's the 4.2, the 4 million is what we're spending now for fiscal year 26. So the number we're looking at is the one is this bucket of money for next year.
That's next year's money. Yeah, that's the
Correct.
money. The
Yeah.
3.784 is the money we're currently collecting now, but we haven't collected all of it. So we don't actually know that it is a solid number until the end of June, when we
Okay,
will have
I
already
was just
done the
thinking
grants. That's
that
why we go back to, we were in the happy
okay.
position of being able to go to the money that we have already collected as of June 30th this past year in 2025. We know that that's what we've got, and that's what we can spend. So I just wanted you to see this chart so you'll understand, how we're going to proceed and what we can do. And as I say, some of the projects may move from historic preservation to open space. Certainly the Muddy River bridges will. So this chart is gonna change a bit, but it's not gonna change to the full 2.5. So that's where we are with that. Does anyone have any questions? Laura, could you put it down now, please?
Mhm.
So I can just see the group. Yeah, thank you. Okay, does anybody have any questions about the lay of the land, so to speak?
Just that,
Okay.
when is our next meeting on January 26th? Is that where we start looking across the board at
Yeah.
all of the requests?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And hopefully we'll have more information about, the Muddy River and what that will actually cost. So it's not going to be 200,000 because we're not only going to be able to do, and I guess we'll have to decide, do we want to spend our money in Boston? And I don't think it's a good idea, but I know other people may feel differently about it. But, it seems Boston's going to have to kick in some money somehow. And their CPA probably can't do it either, on the vehicular bridges. So on the pedestrian bridges, we can spend CPA money. And I don't think the assessment is going to be, the assessment of the bridges within our own community, within Brookline, are apparently, in need. I think I can't remember who commented to me about it, whether it was one of the staff people, but apparently the pedestrian bridge that's solely in Boston is in the worst shape. So it's a different assessment really than our bridges in Brookline. So I think hopefully the staff will have gotten, will have recognized that we are prohibited from, it reminds me in a lot of ways of the bridle path, the judge in the bridle path case in the sidewalk case in Norwell said, you know, said that, you know, the sidewalks aren't permissible to fund. So we couldn't fund the bridle path because it wasn't, but it kind of reminds me of that, you know, we can't fund things that are vehicular in nature and accompany a vehicular for a vehicular reason. And of course,
Trans-
pedestrians walk across those, but they're primarily for vehicles.
Yeah, and they come under all kinds of Department of Transportation requirements, which is very difficult to manage along with CPA. That's why Stuart warned us against them.
Right. Okay, so anybody have any questions about those charts? Okay, so let's talk about our upcoming meetings. Let's see, and so next week, we have a meeting on January 26th and one the following Monday on the 2nd and one the following Monday on the 9th. And I'm hoping about, you know, keeping our fingers crossed that we won't have to have the one on the 9th. And we'll accomplish everything we need to do in the next two meetings so that Laura can get to work on the there's a lot of paperwork involved in submitting the warrant request, so the warrant article. So she'll need to do a warrant article and an explanation and then we have to get signatures. So we'll be coming to everybody for a signature, hopefully by February, I don't know.
After the 2nd.
Well, yes, the warrant is actually positively no extensions allowed due by February 25th. And
At
we have
noon.
to get this, yeah, and so we have to get the signatures before then. I would, you know, not leave it to the last minute. So I would hopefully be able to get the signatures by about a week before so that we have time to get it all in and be told that it's correct and we don't have to do anything else. Sue. Don't hear you. You're muted.
So sorry. I just wanted to reiterate that unfortunately, I'm out of the country for the entire month of February. So my last meeting in this string of meetings will be next Monday. And then I will not be available at all for the entire month. So,
So maybe we need to get your signature now.
well, I guess it depends on what I'm being asked to sign. So, but I honestly,
The
I
other
will have-
option, okay, the other option is we all live in Brookline. So if as many committee members can sign as possible and we get a couple of other people to sign and we have 10 signatures, then we're okay. You know, when it's a committee, you can do it if all the members of the committee can sign, but I don't know whether if we're missing one or two people and we only have a quorum, whether that will work. I'd have to talk to Melissa about it and find out. But I appreciate your telling us now because we may not even have the papers ready for you to sign them. I suppose we could have a signature page ready, but basically, you know, so there are people in town hall who work, who live in Brookline. I know a few of them, and we can probably get, you know, a few other signatures. I don't think it'll be that onerous since we only have to have 10 and there are 9 of us. We're missing you, that's 8. So we can get, you know, a couple more and I think it'll be fine. I hope.
Nancy, I have a question.
Yeah.
Sue represents the Brookline Housing Authority. And, you know, the Housing Authority has a big chunk of the grant requests this year round. Is it possible for somebody else from the Housing Authority board to temporarily take her place at our meetings while she's away? Does that
No.
not possible?
No. I mean, we certainly welcome you know, any input. But no, let's see if we can, let's see if we can discuss the housing. Well, we'll see. Well, the 26th, hopefully, we're gonna duke it out on, how we make everything fit.
Yeah, I don't think signatures are an issue, but I mean, the representation of the housing
No,
authority.
I agree. I agree with you. I
Major
understand what you're
request is
saying.
important.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So, Minnie,
Yeah, I was just going to say, so next week, Nancy, I'm traveling on work, and I'm going to see whether I can just join at least for a short part of the meeting. And the week after, also, I'm traveling on work, but that I should be able to join on Zoom.
okay. Hope you're going someplace warm.
DC.
That's not
Not
good enough.
Yeah, someplace hot.
Not good enough.
Okay, okay, anybody else have any comments, questions, whatever? Okay, we do have one more thing on the agenda, and that's the 25 and 26 grant updates. And also finalizing the scoring rubric. Unfortunately, I thought I could bring my iPad, which I have in front of me, and do my rubric here, but I can't seem to get it done on the iPad. I'm gonna have to do it at home on the computer. So, but I wonder if has anybody else tried it? Because next week should be the time we bring all of our rubrics to the table. Unless we
So-
have, Sue.
So I went to look at it, honestly, first time in a while, and wasn't sure I had the most recent one. And so between Laura and Minnie, I now have what I believe is the most up-to-date rubric. But Minnie, do you think it would be worth circulating what you sent to me and Laura?
I could send it over.
To everybody?
Or
over
I,
every-
yeah,
then-
or I could as a follow-up to the meeting. I'm happy
okay,
to
so now
send
that you have
Minnie's
it, so
version.
Laura could do
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'd
Okay.
appreciate that.
Yeah, and it looked to me from an earlier version where you could actually see like who's actually filled it out. It didn't look to me like anyone else had filled it out. But maybe I missed something, or maybe it was the
No,
wrong document.
No, the version that you received was just like one filled out as just kind of dummy,
Oh, I see.
just to show how it works, but it wasn't actually like filled out with anything real, anything.
Yeah, I think it would be great if you send it if everyone gets the latest copy, so we're all on the same page.
Okay,
And
and
then-
I'll take
then
out
I
any
have-
of the dummy information and just send a clean
Yes,
copy. That's the most recent version to everyone with a reminder to do it and bring it to the next meeting.
Yeah.
and then Laura, we have to update, some of the projects, the amounts, and all that because this was.
Mhm.
It was as of like September, October.
Right, and maybe we'll know more about the Muddy River project, which
Yeah.
would really help us. So,
And then, David, you have a separate version for the,
Do I?
or user-friendly for you version.
You were making one with the macro or
I made
something?
one, and I thought I sent it to you. Oh my gosh, don't tell me. Okay, all right.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
It's done there. In fact, literally the moment you said it, like, Stephen
Okay.
talked about it, and then, I've made it much more
Okay.
user-friendly for you, so you can,
And there needs to be a note on there, what the macro is. And so
Minnie,
Laura,
is
you'll
that-
coordinate
Yeah.
that.
and
Minnie, if this is a separate version, just send it to me. I'll send it to David or whatever, or maybe
it's
it's
good. That way,
okay.
yeah, sounds
Okay.
good.
okay. Okay, so, let me see, keep looking at my agenda here. All right,
Oh.
so we discussed the rubric. Do we want to go through, what time is it now?
I
It's,
can be real fast on the fiscal year
okay,
25 and
all right.
26.
Let's do it now so we don't have to do it next week. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
Laura.
I can just, it's more of an FYI, just to let people know, I'm making kind of a master tracking project grant monitoring spreadsheet. And I have received quarterly reports from some, but not all of the folks. And so I'm using this opportunity as sort of the new kid on the block to introduce myself to all of the existing projects and get to know the people who are on them and kind of get a status update from them. So I'm happy to give a little bit more of a recap debrief, maybe when we're through some of this really frequent decision heavy things, or even write up a brief little report or something, status update for you guys just to review. But that's kind of the lay of the land there. It's just I'm playing some catch up and getting organized on all these projects and where they're at.
We have 29 now.
Mhm.
Over.
29. Yep. So I did a little ride around, for example, with the Parks and Rec director, Millie, the other day, and she drove me around to some of the key sites for that, and that was really helpful. So I'm hoping to do some more site visits and just interviews and things with folks.
Okay, so we'll look forward to getting some of those updates. And that'll also sometimes, the projects finish and they have leftover money, and that'll come back to us. So we have to figure out too if we have any of that are hanging around. Okay, so I guess the next thing for us to do is other business, if anybody has any. Okay, we can adjourn. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Second.
Okay, Sue moves and David seconds. All in favor? I'm gonna go as I see you on the screen. Brooke?
Yep. Hi.
Clara?
Yes.
David?
Yep. Yes.
Minnie?
Aye.
Steve?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
And the chair votes aye. Okay. See you all next week, and be prepared to discuss the rubric and fill it out, and we'll go forward. Okay, thanks, everybody.
Good night.